Welcome to another News Game Plus. I'm Dermie, and I'm here with the Arnold Palmer of video game media, New Game Plus executive producer Jason Callahan.
So that was okay. That's one of your better ones. But
And you
also,
like it 'cause it's complimentary.
yeah, well, yeah. But there was a good joke from John Stewart on that. He goes, "It's half lemonade, half Arnold Palmer," and I'm like, that's pretty funny. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I remember the first time we went to Japan, we were all in one room, and you and Prospect, and that was a very hot night, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and you all like sunning yourselves in the dark, like dogs do in the
yeah,
yard, like it balls out, and it was like snakes on a plane, and
yeah.
it's quite traumatic. And then you're going, oh, let's go to one of those Japanese bars. We all strip off, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to cry.
That's fine. I
Up,
mean,
up until last night, I was happy
I'll be,
with
I'll
myself.
be, I'll be, I'll be gross and say that's what she said. But yeah. Anyway,
Anyway, I first have to do a Logan Paul style apology. What?
so not a real apology at all.
Yeah.
My bad. Microsoft isn't trans. Yeah.
So, no, on the Microsoft thing last week, I said the contract lengths were 10 months.
Yeah.
I thought we'd reached 10 million subs, so I started getting the numbers 18 and 10 mixed up. It's actually an 18-month contract they put them on to avoid healthcare, not 10. My mistake. Easy mistake to make if you doctor disrespect to someone, but for us, we're not there yet. What they do after the 18 months is they then won't let you recontract for 6 months, so they can get a tax deduction for hiring an unemployed person. So there you go. So that's my apology out of the way.
That's
What's an
interesting.
apology? Correction.
Yeah, is that because they're with the W-2 visas or whatever they're called, like the immigrant visas that they use for a lot of tech stuff over there as well?
I don't know for sure because I mean all this information I get off like places like
Joe
basically
Rogan.
well it's the opposite of that, Jimquisition
Oh wow, okay.
and Reddit and that, just trying to read what ex-employees say and that.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Um,
People say they want about Jim Sterling's personal life, but the work's always been there. I always respect Jim's work. So
yeah, no, I've watched tons of the Jimquisition stuff. I like it. It's and it's stuff that needs to be said because
yeah,
my big complaint is over the last 10 years has been, look, video game media is focused on some issues that may be important,
yeah,
but we've missed a couple that were big and were fundamental changes to what was going on, and that was always my complaint with
yeah.
where the focus
Well,
was.
and I think this people mistaking being antagonistic and edgy with being like standing on the right side of it. And you tell Jim about Jim. Jim gets cancelled by left, right, and center from the companies themselves. They won't send
I
games or
can't
anything like
imagine
that.
he gets many review codes.
Yeah, yeah, right. And so at
So
least
she gets many
yeah,
review codes.
but it
Yeah.
is that thing of yeah, just the fact that it's always been a consistent message. It's always been a consistent. This is what I care about.
Oh,
Uh,
look, it's fair, and it's stuff that, like I said, needs to be said because some of the behaviour of companies needs to be called out,
yes.
and not everybody's going to do it. Now, I'm gonna I'm gonna go with a my really good friend Joel left us this week, and he always loved my conspiracy theories. He thought I was a crackpot because I'd say things like, CIA killed JFK, 9/11 was an inside job, and I really like my chiropractor because my
Yeah,
chiropractor
yeah.
goes a good job, and he'd yell at me over the chiropractor one.
Yeah, no, and to be fair, of all of them, that is the most outlandish idea that chiropractors are anything but quackery, but that's okay.
And it's funny.
I put it like this: you go pay for a chiropractor. I find women roughly 70 kilos to stand on my back, and it has the same effect. Like it pops my spine back in, and I can work for 2 days. That's literally the same thing. That's why I had well, the other day we had PAX glitch, and I was like I was working hard throughout PAX, and I just said it to Bonnie. I'm like, sorry, it's that time of day. Grabbed my jacket off the shelf,
Yeah.
put it on my back, and I said, you know what to do. She just stood, and then because she was wearing thick heels, she goes,
Like in MASH when Radar and that go to Seoul.
yeah,
Right? It's got
yeah,
an Asian lady walking on him.
yeah, and then it just felt pop pop. I felt my spine go back in. I'm like, perfect. And then when I was in Japan, I actually made our good friend of the show, Mish, do the same thing. She's like, if I kill you, we're doing it in your hotel room because if I kill you, I can just leave and go and pretend I wasn't there. I'm like, that's fine. She's like, I'm gonna kill you. I'm like, no, no. She's like,
It's,
and she's such a she's
yeah, it's a bizarre conversation to
anyway.
have.
I said it to her. We're good friends now, but
Lucky you didn't work for Blizzard.
right, right. Yeah. That'll be standing in your front. But no, and I just said it, and then she basically just came in like crunch, heel into my back, stood pop. I'm like, good, thank you. That's all I need. You can go now. Like that was legitimately
I
everything.
used to get my son to do it when he was little.
Yeah.
I used to get the kids to do, and then my son thought it was funny because he'd like jump up in the air and then like jump on me, land on me,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then he'd laugh his head off while I was struggling for breath.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably kidney damage in there as well.
Anyway, this is meant to be a video game podcast.
Yeah, where was I going? Okay, no. So in honor of my good friend Joel, I'm going to go with I'm going to go with a conspiracy theory.
Only one.
Well, just one.
It's a light
I
day,
can do
it's a
one
light
per
day, yeah.
podcast. We'll still be going for what. So I do love my tinfoil hat. It's funny because his twin brother did say to me at the funeral, where was my tinfoil hat? I thought I didn't think you knew me that well. But anyway, so now we haven't mentioned Mr. Beast yet because it had been going on for a while. And because we didn't know what to say. Like it was sort of like some of the information looked interesting, some looked dodgy, but where do you approach it? And I think both of us discussing off here were kind of like, well, it's part of managing young people and potentially not being separated from it enough. But one thing I'll bring up the current Lunchly stuff. Now Lunchables got a massive US contract to provide Lunchables for all the school kiddies in America. And Lunchly comes along, and I'm not going to stand up for 1 second for people like Logan Paul and that, right?
Yeah.
They've come along as a massive competitor with 3 massive internet identities.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me that the people who make Lunchables aren't sitting back just loving the internet eat itself.
Yeah.
They're basically feeding them. And look, Logan Paul deserves everything he gets. Mr. Beast does. Look, I don't know if Mr. Beast is scumbag or not, but he built a brand and he made a certain type of thing. And so if you're looking for more from that content than, just entertainment, you're probably looking in the wrong place. I don't know anything about KSI, not familiar with him at all, but yeah, I just wonder how much of this whole Mr. Beast Lunchly stuff is being pushed by interests that are very interested in not having a competitor to the company that just got a big deal.
So this is always my issue with the way, because when it's all said and done, a lot of the news you see it may be factual, right? But the facts in and of themselves, and this is going to sound awful, don't always tell the true story. Like you can look at it and go, they've done X, Y, Z. It's like yes, but if you look at what the contract stated or whatever, that was what the expectation was, or they were a military contract from. That's the classic one. If you're in the military industrial complex, any competitor will get it. Like if you're making planes out of the EU that are better than local planes, and then the management of a local airplane company.
An example, and look, I'm not going to stick up for him. I'm just going to stand for him. But a lot of the fuss about Elon Musk is really, I believe, to do with the fossil fuel industry being feeding it a bit, and a lot of people are joining in. And I'm not saying he's a good person or anything. I'm just saying everybody thinks they're clever. Going, I hate Elon Musk because he's a poo-poo head and he bought Twitter and he's all right wing and that. Probably not realizing that a lot of it's being, I reckon, being fed by fossil fuel industry who would rather he just fucked off.
Yeah.
And also the competition with the space stuff between him and Bezos. So and Bezos owning a major media outlet. So I think sometimes.
Well, he's Washington Post, isn't he?
And that, yeah. And so sometimes you might have a person who genuinely does deserve the criticism.
Yeah.
But you might be being a foot soldier for somebody potentially worse.
And again, it's that thing of, it's not that the story is wrong, and it's not that the story should be excused. It's look at the timing of when it leaked. Like I promise you, like most of your parliamentary stories, they come out, and it's always their own party, the Liberals, that leak it.
Parties do worse things to themselves than they do to each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a gentleman agreement normally across the floor, but internally they'll do anything.
Absolutely. And so especially if you've got them coming up to like a leadership spill or something like that, suddenly the things will hit the papers. Like Pseudo copped it a little bit in the last few weeks, but then they realised that the people they were going to put in...
No, Jay DeBruin was back, but anyway, that's another
story.
I
mean...
Let's not go down that path.
Fuck the SDA, mate. Like, yeah, that's my cat cry. Drone Raspu. Anyone listening who is listening who is a retail employee, cancel your SDA membership today and join the Retail and Fast Food Workers Union. Josh will look after you. Don't listen to any of these fucking SDA pricks ever. And Joe DeBruin comes out. Oh my lord! The Catholics walked out on him. The Catholics walked out on him having an anti-abortion rant. That's the world we live in.
Let's get back.
Sorry,
I knew as soon as I said that you were going to be off. But no. So anyway, so I just think the current Lunchly conspiracy. I was going to go with that. Just a conspiracy theory, and it's the thing, similar thing thing with the Fat Acceptance Network. Might be being pushed a bit by Macca's and Coke.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I just think sometimes if you knew the other people involved, like if the same amount of effort put into being critical of Lunchly was put into Lunchables, the world might be a better place. Just like if the same amount of effort put into digging into Elon Musk was put into Rupert Murdoch, we might be better off.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're distracted like cats with a laser pointer, and if it was as simple as, oh, if we just get rid of this identity that represents something, then it'll be gone. It'll be good. Because if that was the case, then when Milo Yiannopoulos got cancelled, the alt-right would have gone, right? And it didn't, right? Because it's never just one person. But we like to, and Trump's a bit like that too. If we just get rid of Trump, all the problems will be over. Not really. It's a symptom, not the disease.
Correct.
So
yeah.
anyway, so the Lunchly thing, I think
That's right. We can.
I'm going conspiracy with that.
We can have more photo ops with Liz Cheney.
That wouldn't steal an election.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Welcome to the Triggering Jason podcast. Anyway, I was going to go open with that. I was going to throw in. I might do it each week. I was throwing that as a conspiracy theory.
I don't hate that one. I genuinely think, like I say, it speaks to media literacy. It speaks to the idea that we
celebrity.
The facts could be 100% there, but you've always got to question the timing, right? So if you get a fact that comes out and it's such and such and such, you've just got to question the time. And I mean, we've seen it across the board with things like Ukraine and stuff like that. It's like the whoever blew up the Nord Stream has gone by the wayside because the Germans found out who it was, and it wasn't the Russians.
It's pretty obvious.
So it was pretty obvious who it was, right? And it's like.
Yeah.
And they figured it out, but they don't want that one to be in the media.
So they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, and they just don't talk about it. So that's what I'm saying. You always got to question how loud the megaphone is and when the megaphone got turned.
So if Lunchley goes away and Mr. Beast and KSI and Logan Paul all fail, there'll still be Lunchables.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm going. I just think the whole Lunchley thing and a lot of the Mr. Beast thing at the moment, while people taking part might generally believe what they're doing, there's a little bit of butthead and a little bit of jealousy. I suspect that it's been driven by other people who don't want them cutting their lunch. Almost literally.
Cutting their lunch.
Yeah, so.
But I mean, it is funny because they are so nutritionally unsound. Like, if you look at what's in
Neither of them are.
No, that's what I mean. Like, if it was replacing something that had, a balanced meat, a bit of fruit, a bit of cereal grain, and a bit of whatever, you'd go, well, the fuck, that sucks, man. But then you look at Lunchables, you're like, oh, this is just dessert too, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's one plastic replacing another plastic. Now, if you
rip turtles, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's my conspiracy theory in honor of my friend. I might do a conspiracy theory each week because I've got plenty of them. As Joel used to know. Anyway, so now next one. Okay, Minecraft. Now I bagged mine. You got any contracts coming out with Minecraft?
No,
Microsoft?
not anytime soon.
Okay, good. Because I'm going to help.
I will de-conflict of interest myself. We did work with Xbox the thing, and I still let you say what you said last week. So never let it be said that I'm compromised.
I'm going to go him again. Microsoft is stealing Skyblock. I don't know if you know what Skyblock is.
No.
Okay. Now, Skyblock is about, no, I may have some of these details wrong, but basically back in about 2011, somebody made, or thereabouts, a guy made a level for Minecraft, which was basically a little block of dirt with a tree in the sky, like 200 blocks above void, where you had to then use what was in the chest and that tree to try and beat the game. Beating the game meaning get to the Ender Dragon, kill the Ender Dragon. Although to a lot of people that also means getting a beacon from killing one of those three-headed things. Anyway, so he made that now, and he called that Skyblock. Now that changed a little bit. Now it's an L-shaped thing, and it's seen as a bit of a stamp of real Minecraft expertise to do it. And people like Captain Sparkle's got very big and Skyblock on doing Skyblock streams and that. So there's a lot of variations now. Now, for years, there were Skyblocks all over Java Minecraft, and nobody was making any money off them, but they were making them. And the person who made Skyblock was quite happy for them to do it because the Java Minecraft community was a lot about sharing. There wasn't, you just download mods and you play them, right? Now, what's happened more recently with Bedrock Minecraft is now there's a store.
Yeah.
And so a lot of companies have come along and they've released Skyblock. Basically, this guy Skyblock from over 10 years ago, they've released their own charge money for it.
Right.
So, and some of them is, they'll have like 200,000 reviews or whatever. So they've made millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
And they all say they're Skyblock, and they all say in the description the original Skyblock. Now, in the Java world, the creator of Skyblock contacted a few Java ones and said, "Hey, look, I'd rather you didn't call it Skyblock and say the original Skyblock because that was mine." And they all said, "Okay, no worries," because there's that community, right? So they changed and they had like Infinite Skyblock or something, and didn't say it's original. In the Bedrock store, they all said no.
Right.
So they all called it Skyblock and said it. And he said, "I don't want you to take it down. I don't want to cut. I just want you to not call it Skyblock and not in the description say the original Skyblock."
Yeah.
So he then decided he'd take out a trademark on it, on Skyblock,
Yeah.
to protect it. And Microsoft took him to court to stop him getting the trademark. And they took him to court representing all of their Microsoft Store partners who were selling it so that he could have him in court, running him out of money. And the end result will be he won't be able to keep fighting this case. He's going to lose everything so that Microsoft and their partners can keep making money off his invention that he made ages ago. And that's that's business, how business works now. That's the scummiest thing I'd ever heard of. They're basically stealing that.
Yeah, and it's not like he did say, "I demand a cut. I demand you take." If it was a cease and desist or pull down, of course they're going to call out.
He
the
just
fucking
wanted it
rules,
renamed.
right?
He said you can still use Skyblock. I just want a word put in front of it, like Infinite Skyblock or Scary Skyblock or
Skyblock would do it.
Danger Skyblock, right? And not call it the original Skyblock. And that was too much for Microsoft because they make a fortune off. And this is the problem with stores. And Microsoft makes, I assume, 30%.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
they
that's
probably do.
general. Yeah.
Everybody except Epic kind of makes that.
Yeah, but does Epic make anything off? It's
so-
like 8% now or something, isn't it?
Nobody buys anything on
Yeah,
Epic
that's
anyway. It
true.
doesn't matter. They
That's
can charge us lower fee as they want. Nobody's paying.
Again, it does show you how little they make, right? Like,
Everybody's only there for the free stuff. Anyway, so yeah, there's another one against Microsoft. That's scummy behavior. As a dev, I hate stories like that because that does hit home for some other stuff I'm aware of.
Well, yeah, I was saying you've told me stories that I'm aware of,
which I can't say here,
No,
and I
of
won't.
course.
But yeah, so look, that's scummy, and that's the sort of thing. That's Microsoft. That's American business in a way. That is like steal somebody else's work, make lots of money off it, and then sue them out of existence. They can't get much more American. Very, very bad form by Microsoft.
Yeah. So I'm not saying nothing.
Yeah, cool. And you can rejoin the podcast.
Yeah. I'm out of the wall of isolation.
All right. Xbox Cloud Streaming. No, really, I can't say it's just so bad. Xbox Cloud Streaming will soon allow you can stream your own games, the games you own, on their little Game Pass streaming thing, not just the games available on Game Pass.
Okay.
Because up until now, you've only been able to stream this positive story. So, two ways. We're fair and balanced here. So, so
no
you
fake news.
So yeah, you can I weave a story. So anyway, so you'll soon be able to stream games that you own, which means they've got way more games sitting in their cloud service than they've told anybody. But so if you own a game, then you can now stream it.
Look, I'm not averse to the idea of game streaming, especially for A, poor people, and B, people who like, how do I say it, are playing games that don't require split-second reaction. So if you're playing like a fighting game, you couldn't convince me to play a fighting game on streaming, right? It's just not going to happen. But if you're playing like a strategy game or something like that, like you could easily play Civ by streaming, because what's the difference? You know what I mean? Like there might be a quarter of a second delay, but who gives a shit? Doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look, for most games, I like that. Microsoft streaming is actually a good product. So
they spend a lot of money on Azure, and it's what put them in the position they are at the moment.
The streaming. I played a bit of Plants vs Zombies, because Garden Warfare you can stream, and there'll be people on the servers on a TV, on a Samsung TV, but there's nobody playing on Xbox for some reason. So I played a bit, and it actually has been decent. Now Garden Warfare is not Call of Duty, so it's not as it doesn't have to be as exact.
That said, when Halo Infinite came out, you couldn't turn off auto aim, but you could turn off auto aim or any kind of aim assist on Garden Warfare, and so I appreciate that, and I think that makes it more of an esport than Halo
More of a
Infinite.
grown-up
Please
game.
Continue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I know you like that, and you also like to turn off drive assist on Forza. Yeah, my brother spoke to me for about 3 hours the other day about how awesome it is racing without driving.
Yeah.
I
was that guy who used to play pop clutch, so I'd have a clutch button, so it'd be like, because I had to change gears.
You're driving a rotary by the sounds of
Wow, yeah, I wish, man. That's how you know.
All the kids aren't going to know what I just said.
When I've finally made it and I've got enough money to I'm going to buy myself a nice Series 5 FC RX-7. Like as much as I love my MX-5, I've always wanted an RX-7. And that's going to be one of the cars I buy myself when I'm finally rolling in the millions. If I've hit that point, that's when you can put your hands out and ask for your $5.
Big hello to all the Gen Zs and that
Yeah,
just have no idea what that
they
conversation
don't even
was.
drive anymore, which is fine. I always growing up as a poor suburban kid, you needed to drive, so it's a bit of a different mindset.
I grew up in the country. You had a bike and then a car.
Right.
Otherwise, you were just stuck at home.
Stuck at home,
And
exactly.
the houses were tiny.
Right.
So you
And
were
so,
stuck with your brothers and sisters in a tiny house with one
yeah,
corridor with the bedrooms coming off and one lounge
yeah.
and one toilet. And it's like you're just desperate to get out.
Yeah. So yeah, I was always said so. It's just a different mindset now, where most people are suburban based, or there's at least some public transport option, or their parents will drive them around because they're helicopter parents. So I don't know. I still think it's an important skill to learn. I've still got to teach some of our boys how to do it, so I don't always have to be the one driving the trucks. But
You can do the meme where you got the gear shift and it says Millennium anti-theft device.
But I'm a millennial. You know what I mean? No old pricks I know drive manual anymore. I drive both my cars are manual. My little truck and my.
I'm old enough that you could get your license in an auto and just drive a manual because then they started separating. Anyway, aside from that, more game stuff, not cars.
Yeah, no more boomer shit.
You did union memberships and cars. People are going to be going, what the hell?
Stuff. Yeah, and getting the right size women to walk on my back.
Okay. You can go to any conference, find the Activision Blizzard room, and you can get all sorts of shit.
You can't get boys to do it because they finally see me in a vulnerable position. So like, now's my chance to kill the king. So you can't do it. It's like Mufasa hanging off the side. Scar, help me.
Yeah, no, your grip's too strong.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna. Have you heard about the Halo dev that don't like guns?
No, but that is interesting.
I'm gonna read the tweet.
So I have a follow-up story when you do it.
All right, well, I'm going to read the tweet. Now, this got so much negative coverage, and Reddit went berserk over it, right? And I understand why they did, but I think there's something more that we can cover with this. The tweet says, and it's been deleted, so you have to find it.
Classic, yeah.
I honestly don't think I could. This is from a Halo dev, right? He tweeted, I honestly don't think I could work on a game that glorifies modern guns, in brackets, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Rainbow Six. I've had moments I've struggled with Halo, but the weapons and the world is pretty sci-fi, which I feel is enough separation from reality.
I have two counters, but I'll wait for you.
Well, now everyone went berserk, and I understand the initial knee-jerk reaction to say, if you don't like guns, why are you on a first-person shooter? Because the S stands for shooter for a reason, right? So on FPS, but I actually think you might be about to go here, but I actually think that's worthy of more of a conversation. Now, A, I don't think this person probably should take a job at Halo if that's their attitude. But B, I think also that this is a sign that we need, and you get in the AA space, we need more non-shooty gun games. Now, they do exist, but I mean, in that space where if you're going to work on Halo and you're going to be a dev there, I mean, there's not many. Deus Ex is a dead franchise. Beyond Good and Evil is a dead franchise. So Thief's a dead franchise. So you're kind of stuck in a shooty world, right? Yeah. But I think, yes, I don't think you should be working there if you say it. But also I think it's a sign that there needs to be opportunities there that aren't shooting, and games need to do more not shooting.
So I think Halo is in a better place than something like, do you remember when Medal of Honor Warfighter come out? And you could look at the guns, and then it would go straight to the gun manufacturers.
You could go buy them. I remember that word.
And stuff like that. And I'm like, who approved this? Who thought?
Oh, that was early Twitter too. Can you imagine now?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be far worse. But I remember the fuss, and I did think at the time that was pretty outrageous, mind you. As a grown up, it's not like you can buy guns. You know this. You can buy guns.
And shall we go to the range? Yeah.
Here's something that, look, Americans have a different perspective on this for reasons, right? Yeah. But in Australia, we play the same games. Like, if you look at the top 10 games, and probably even the top 100, it's the same games as America, except for the sporting games. Yeah. And typically, we have the Mario games where their NFL and NBA ones are.
Stuff,
and Madden, right? So,
but basketball is over here. There's enough people buy NBA 2K40.
But if you look at the top ones, if you look at the first-person shooters, they're pretty much the same. Now, we also don't tend to shoot up our schools, right? We had a mass shooting years and years ago, Port Arthur, and the
Yeah,
government
we
said,
had a few before that, so keep it.
yeah.
I
Oh yeah,
assume, yeah,
Hoddle Street and that.
Hoddle Street.
Yeah, and Port Arthur was the worst in history
Yeah.
at that point in time, outside of a military action. So, and they basically, the government said, and John Howard, probably the only thing he ever did good, he said,
Yeah.
we don't think you should have those guns. And everyone in Australia went, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And we just handed them in.
Yeah. Well,
So,
see, but it is so. It is that thing. There's still over 1 million registered gun owners in Australia, and each one of those probably owns at least 4 to 5 guns. So there's probably 5 to 6 million minimum guns in Australia at the moment.
yeah,
Like,
but
you know,
we don't have the shootings. If you get shot in Australia, you've done a
well,
drug deal. A drug deal's gone wrong. It's a gangland thing.
yeah, for sure. And like the only ones issues we've had recently, and they're so isolated, was those fucking rednecks up in Queensland who killed those coppers, and they had them illegally transport them across the border because they had their licenses revoked and all that kind of stuff. There was a family out in WA, and then there was that kid in WA who took him to school, and it's like, so it's all isolated dumb incidents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we don't have the school shootings. Oh,
No.
I did see like it was a. Now this is a very I was going to say crude or very offensive comment, but I did see it asked, how come no school shooters ever gone to the teachers' lounge? And I thought
Yeah.
that's an interesting question,
Yeah.
and I hate to say it, but I do wonder that. I got to say that side of me going, okay, because I don't know about you, your school, I don't know who you hated.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, anyway, so.
Yeah. Going back to, I was always in a weird
I'm
spot.
not saying you won't do that.
No, no.
I
Recess.
did find that weird.
Recess, I used to play like my GBA and stuff with the nerdy kids, nerdy Sri Lankan and Indian kids in one side, and then at lunchtime I'd be playing either footy, rugby, or cricket, depending on the season. And so I got a pass as a general rule. Like I was usually
You're sporty, and
like
teachers love the
sporty,
sporty.
yeah, sporty enough and enough of a smart ass that yeah, they
Yeah, well, I went to my son's valedictory dinner on.
Oh god, yeah, I
Saturday
actually saw
night.
the photo. Yeah, yeah,
And they kill me. But they had big comment on this subject, but anyway, and they had awards for sport and all the sporty awards with the footy players, and I thought that's cool. But my son's sitting at this table with like does two different martial arts, had a brown belt at 13, has been training with adults
yeah.
pretty much since 15 because he was that good. Yeah, the footy players all walking around. Oh yeah, like this. And I thought it's interesting how you get the credit for playing footy, but you don't get it for doing a legit sport and being pretty good at it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Like I know it's my boy, but
it's one of those,
the dude's good.
one of those
The footy players are like,
it's
I
one
got
of
their
those,
word.
it's one of those cultural biases, right? I mean, but my second point to Halo,
Oh yeah,
right, is sci-fi is an allegory. Sci-fi is always an allegory. It's never. It's always a metaphor for something else that is going on in the world, and that's how they're telling their story. That's what Star Trek. Star Trek was, Cold War and all those kind of things, and like it's always an allegory. So for him to say that it's far enough removed, and I'm like, at least he acknowledges that he had to
okay,
question it. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, sure, but
It's
it's not. Yeah.
okay. Well,
You're still dealing with the religious fanaticism. Like you're
I
basically
was going to
taking
say
religious fanaticism.
Halo is a game about religion.
Yeah,
And people who don't get that haven't played much Halo.
yeah,
Halo is a game about, especially Halo 2 on that really solidified a bit. Halo is a game about religion and the perversion that
yeah.
religion brings, which is weird because to see it as a simple shooting game
Yes.
is sort of missing the point, and even
And
Microsoft doesn't get it.
but then also to say it's so far removed that I'm okay with it. I'm like, well, that's an interesting line you've drawn for yourself. At least he acknowledges it was a line he drew for himself, right? But like, it's still
That's copium to me.
a little bit, right? I mean, how is it? Is it really that far removed from when you've got Call of Duty going to Iran and trying to kill the mullahs, or COD 4 where you start off in the center of some unnamed Arabian country and in the middle of the turmoil and stuff like that? It's like it's very similar. There's very similar themes here. There's like a three pragmatic leaders and blah blah blah.
I think
Yeah.
people miss the point that it's about the themes,
Yes.
not the details. And
Yes.
people are stuck with I said earlier about the names, like when I said about Musk and that, right? People focus on specific details, but not understanding that. It's like when people have the discussion about racism. Racism is something only white people do because of power and privilege. You go, no, if you look at it more of as a thought process
Yes.
and in a
Othering.
way a
Yeah.
mental illness,
Yeah.
then it's that's a real sort of way to look at it,
Yeah.
not this sort of like trying to redefine
Yeah.
things in a way that I can make it specifically about a particular individual or group that I don't like, because that
Yeah.
actually turns into racism.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, no, and this is that. Like I say, I don't think it's as far removed from those conversations as I would be comfortable enough. And I still think being able to tell those
Well, you're
stories.
still murdering.
Yes, for sure, for all intents and
You're
purposes.
still murdering some aliens who
Yeah.
probably had families.
Yes.
I mean, let's do
Yeah,
the
and they
rings of power orc
yeah.
sort of story here. Which I mean, yeah, it's still a shooting game. You're still shooting.
Yeah.
And you know, do the grunts want to be there, or are they
They're all
conscripted? Like,
from day one they're conscripted. But I mean, you
yeah,
see on Reddit, like you can you couldn't call an American a bad name, but you can call Russians orcs all day and they won't touch you. You know what I mean? And it's like this dehumanizing othering because every single person has to, of course, agree with the actions of a despot. It's just such a again,
yeah.
like I say,
If you say I think the Ukraine war's a lost cause, and they go, well, you love Putin, you go, oh no, actually,
not really. Yeah, yeah.
you know, I like apples. Why do you hate bananas? It's like,
Well, it's like and certain things that
that's
happened in
how it
Parliament
works.
recently. It's like I'm first gen Australian from Irish stock. I've got no love for the monarchy, but doll hairs,
Well, you got two
doll
Irish.
hairs. Shut up, man.
You got two Irish.
I said I'd give you 5 doll hairs, not dollars. Shut up, idiot.
You got two Irishmen here, and you're not going to find any love for the monarchy.
Yeah, but I'm just like, I'm like, your disdain for it was already well noted. Don't make up silly stories. Anyway, moral story is we've got off track. I'm not convinced Halo was as
Oh
fun
yeah, it
as
was
the
the
Ring for it,
games.
but it is an interesting conversation. Like it is that thing of like, at what point do you draw line? And is there more room for games that aren't thing? I mean, at the moment I've been playing the crap out of Gigabash, right? So you can have shooters that tell stories, right?
Yep.
Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, the one with Raul Menendez. If you get the bad endings, that is still one of the best shooters I've ever played. And I love the stories, and I love how it all happens and all these moments. So the bad ending of, was it 2 or 3? Can't remember. Basically, you shoot your daddy because you don't know it's him, and
Oh,
that's funny. Oh, he deserved it. Him and fucking Tucker, whatever his name is.
Tucker Carlson.
No, I'm not. If he's a real person, we wouldn't want a call to action there. Um, basically, they've done all these awful things around and they basically your daddy on his mission with the other guy throw a grenade into a room, and it basically like either kills or really disfigures Raul Menendez's sister, right? And so that's why he hates you and he hates the Western world. He wants to go. So you got a decent villain who has decent motivations, right?
Yep.
The good ending is you shut down all of these things and the world order keeps going. The bad ending is he basically he accomplishes what he wants. He finds is it Woods? Yeah, it's Woods. Maybe it's Woods. Finds Woods in his retirement home, takes her locket that she had around her neck when she got blown up, stabs him to death with it in his throat, and then sets himself on fire on his grave. And I'm like, to me, that is a way better ending than yeehaw, we did it again.
Yeah, well, movies do that way worse than games
I
do.
mean, that's the
Yeah.
Departed argument, right?
Yeah.
They ruined the Departed with their ending, but I don't
They
know.
always do. Yeah.
I think you can use shooters to tell good stories. Helldivers, even though like the enemies aren't human, which is again goes to his conversation a little bit.
Yeah.
But you see, all the and it's done in a joking manner, similar to kind of Starship Troopers in a way.
The
It's done
managed
in
democracy.
in
and
an
that.
obvious satire, right? It's an obvious satire of where you could head if you have these warlike countries, and so you can still use shooters to tell these kind of stories. And granted, Helldivers is sci-fi, so I guess that falls outside of his realm. But my favorite game of this year that's not Helldivers that I've discovered, I think it came out last year, was Gigabash. Gigabash is such a great little game. It's got lots of Power Stone in it. It's got all the giant kaiju, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and so it's just a great game. So you can make these games, but will they sell the numbers that a shooter will? No, because you still
Yeah, keep going,
Yeah.
but that actually is. I'm going to get to a bit near at the end of this podcast that covers into that.
Okay.
Yes, but yes, that's a good point.
And so
Will they sell it? Probably not. Yeah.
And that's my concern there. Like I say, I still think gaming is a medium where anything is possible. So
Well-
we should still try. But yeah, will you sell the copies? I mean, therein lies the rub.
Well, let's go with a game that didn't sell. It was a commercial failure, but
Yeah.
but I think this guy probably would have liked to work on is Spec Ops: The Line. Now that was a game that was telling a very anti-war
Yes.
story. And the way it did it, and then what Foster has seen, I think everybody's seen it, is just so spectacular. The way it just makes you do something horrific,
Yes.
and then makes you look at what you
It's
just did.
it's one of the very few games where multiple endings made sense to me, like
Yeah.
because it's through the skewed lens of what you're seeing, and do you fire the white phosphorus or don't you? And then it's like
You do it in a
doesn't
game.
really have an impact on what happens. That's all I'll say. but you get one of them. You have to deal with the aftermath of what you have done, and has it changed it because you did it as opposed
You
to
do it and you enjoy it, right? And then you have to walk through what you did.
Yeah.
And there's more there. Anyone who hasn't played it has to. But see, that's a game which is a first person shooter. Lots of guns.
third person, but yeah.
The first person. Sorry, it's a shooter, right? Lots of guns and that, lots of killing. But it was telling a very different story to a gung ho,
Yes.
rah rah, America, fuck yeah, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is good. So yeah, if you just say I don't like I don't like doing games with guns. There's a way, and you're talking about science fiction being like messages effectively about the times, and science fiction always has this way of putting concepts to people in a way that they can embrace.
They're through a different lens. Yeah.
Here's a look at racism, but they're aliens.
Yeah.
So that you don't get triggered and go, oh no, there's like colored people there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they're aliens, so we can gradually seep into your conscious like the messages. And science fiction was always like that. And that's why nerds always loved it. And nowadays, science fiction has become very J.J. Abrams and become really dumb and stupid. But but science fiction at its core has always been about throwing that stuff at you. And I think games can as well, even shooting games, and Spec Ops being an example, and there's others where basically can put a message in that's not what it looks like on the surface. And even Halo was a game about religion. But, anyway, okay, cool. Well, just quickly, and I'm going to get to what you
We've got about 10
alluded to
minutes
before.
here, right?
10. Okay, let's see how we go. All right.
We've been doing 50 minutes recently, so if we keep it under 50, be good.
Banjo Tooie's coming to Switch Online.
Yes, I saw that. Very cool.
That's cool, and kind of a little
nice handshake from Microsoft there.
A little bit. That's Rare. Are they Rare?
Yeah, they're in Rare.
Okay.
They bought Rare out after Nintendo didn't.
They bought everyone, but yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it wasn't $78 million, though. $1 billion, though.
Yeah. Well, the dungeons don't come cheap. Yeah. Now the other one, another kind of an N64 thing is the analog. Analog has made
Analog 3D. Yeah.
An FPGA N64 with 4K HDMI out. 100% compatible with all games because it's FPGA, not software. It's actually
so it's literally
related.
A hardware chip. Yeah. So that for those people who don't know, that's why the Misters are popular, because they are hardware chips that emulate your particular thing. So it's not relying on software to just brute force the calculations. It's basically as if you'd restamp the chips themselves.
Yeah, you basically program FPGA is filled programmable gate array. It's a chip that can be programmed to emulate to mimic another chip. The emulation community worked out a couple of years ago that these things, they've been around for a long time, worked out these things are awesome because if you were trying to emulate, say, the sound chip on a Saturn,
Saturn's a good one. Saturn's a very good example.
If you can get the schematics of the chip, you can actually like program the chip to do all the gateways and that inside the FPGA, so that it's basically is that chip. It's a mimic of it. And you can do more stuff with it, but I've really oversimplified it, but that's what it does. And Analog does really good FPGA stuff. The Analog Pocket is a premium little game.
You swear by the Evercades, and you've shown me a little Atari
Evercade. Unfortunately, Evercades aren't FPGA.
I was going to say,
RetroArch.
Analog are the next step up from that.
Analog, yeah, I love my thing, but Analogs cost about 4 times as much for a pocket or more. They are primo little device. Yeah, I love my Evercade. No, I've got one here. I've got my Atari 2600 limited edition Super Pocket. It's a work of art. But the Analog Pocket they are premium emulation devices, and the N64 one will be. Now, they support wireless controllers as well as the original controllers, and they work closely with 8BitDo.
Yes, I saw that.
Who make really good controllers.
They made a version of their standard ones that has the button configuration similar to an N64.
Yeah, so that's going to be, so people who like the N64, you can do your 4-player split screen, you can get back onto GoldenEye was 64, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Smash Brothers. I wouldn't die shocked if one appears at one of the Couch Warriors things.
The GoldenEye multiplayer was put together in 2 weeks. I was bored. They had 2 weeks to fill it in. They'd finished the project. Slap it together.
Some of the most amazing games ever like that, because Halo Reach and Halo ODST were just done very quickly just to fulfill a Microsoft contract.
Yeah.
The Bungie, had Bungie, wasn't it?
Yeah. And they were DLC for all in the modern world. They'd be DLC packs. They'd be like Elden Ring DLC, where it's like
they were the best. They were the best Halo games by far. People don't like ODST, but it was a really good game.
I'm in that both 3 and Reach for me, but yeah.
But you can throw in. Sometimes you can throw it if you've got a good enough team and you haven't been rotating them through 18-month contracts, so nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
You can actually have. Some really good products. I was going to mention Evercade stuff, but we're running low on time.
We got time.
Last two the last two Evercade cards for the year for people like the Evercade, and I'm a big Evercade fan, as you know, have been announced. Tower Plan, I think it is 4, which I don't know much about. There's shooters. I have the Toplane one and two. They're awesome. I love that. But also there's a dual cart with Metal Dragon and Life on Mars. Metal Dragon being a like a Contra style game.
Yeah.
Life on Mars being a
Is that
Metroidvania.
like Mega Drive or something? Or am I
They're
imagining
both modern retro games. So they're
Okay.
Mega Drive games being written in the
Oh, I
last
love
couple
that.
of years.
Okay.
I love that stuff because they have a real charm about them, how they look.
Because you say if you say Contra, my brain goes to Mega Drive. Like
Yeah, and they look like that, but they're done. So what you get is you get games that's probably better than what, even though they're from indie devs normally, they're probably better than the stuff that was made back then because everyone understands
yeah,
the hardware so much
architecture and
better
stuff.
now and
Yeah,
what they
yeah.
can do. If you buy them in Evercade, the dual cart with Metal Dragon and Life on Mars, it's the cheapest way to buy it because you can also buy them on Mega Drive carts because a lot of these
Yeah.
modern retro games, if they're on the Mega Drive and that, they actually come with an old style cart, so
Yeah,
you can actually put them
nice.
into the
An old
to the
Mega
unit.
Drive.
It's so cool. You can also get at least Life on Mars on Steam, but the cheapest way to get them will be on the Evercade, and they look really cool. But I'm a big fan. I said last podcast about
Yeah.
these modern retro games. Now, you kind of started to go towards this
Okay.
before, so I'm going to close out the podcast with this. We'll see how we go. Okay, so there's a guy called former CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, Shawn Layden.
Yes.
He's
You know Shawn Layden if you saw him. Like
okay. He's currently at Tencent as a strategic advisor, and at Gamescom Asia,
big loss for them. Yep.
big loss for Sony.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Layden in house. I don't know why they got rid of him. It's insane.
well, he's currently advising Tencent, and he had some interesting stuff to say about the Japanese gaming industry and the games development and
Landscape. Yeah.
and one of them everybody saw. But let's go through this. What he said, he criticised Japanese studios for trying to reach a global audience because he said they have not been successful at that for a long time.
100%. Oh my god! And this is why they got rid of him because he didn't want him to move to LA and become a shit company. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, Sony's headquartered in Los Angeles now, aren't
Yeah.
they? Yeah. That is weird for a Japanese company. Basically, yeah, the Japanese studios shouldn't be trying, which is an interesting one because all game studios now have this idea that they should be selling a billion copies of a game to every person on Earth
Sony
almost.
also does their well, they not their QA, but like it is QA, but their last check of like authoring games, so they check for any anything that's going to offend or not be accessible on certain markets, and they do it once, so they don't have multiple. So China doesn't look at it, Japan doesn't look at it, America doesn't look at it, Europe doesn't look at it, blah blah blah. Blah. It's all done once. So now all you've seen it become is that Nintendo Switch is the place to go for hentai games because you can't release them on Sony platforms anymore. Whereas
That's because they're in LA and they're Puritans now.
the Vita survived on these kind of more risque games, and it's
Yeah.
crazy to me that Nintendo has become the place to go when you've got these risque games.
Well, he said another comment because it is interesting how you responded to Japanese.
Layden's a good bloke. I'm telling you, he was one of the very few who had a brain there.
He also said that modern games are suffering a quote, a collapse of creativity.
Yes.
Which he blamed on studio consolidation.
Yes.
Big hello again to
Yeah.
Microsoft. So, a rising costs due to longer development times.
Yep.
Big hello to Concord.
Yeah.
He said because publishers, their risk tolerance is decreasing,
Yep.
if it exists at all, and the growth in AAA budgets is completely unsustainable.
Yeah.
He said if publishers keep relying on blockbusters, that is a death sentence.
Yeah.
His words. It's a death sentence. So he was talking about how if they've got to have mix. Now you know how when YouTube used to recommend you have 3 types of content.
Yes.
Remember that?
Heart, hero, and hygiene.
Yeah. So and we tried to do that. Yeah, it didn't work.
But that was an internal fact. Don't even start on that.
No. I actually still. I'm again a bonus tinfoil hat. I'm still convinced New Game Plus was prevented from being what it could be by YouTube because at the time everyone was culture warring their brains out and they didn't know who we were.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the and that I think anybody they didn't know who they were.
Shout out to the Greens parliamentary aides.
Yeah, and so anyone that didn't know who they were stifled, and I think we just were the wrong time. But that's another tinfoil hat. I can say that for another time. I remember I showed you numbers. I think that up. Where was I going with this? Now a little. So the death of creativity is also interesting because of the AI. So all the publishers are desperately, EA, and they talked about them about 2 podcasts ago. They're desperate to go AI to make everything. Meanwhile, the problem is the collapse of creativity.
I saw
Going AI is not going to help.
I saw someone from the ANZ on ABC, of course, because the ABC is useless now, spruiking using AI to decide if
My
someone
wife
gets...
just got rid of this podcast.
Yeah.
I'm not pick on the ABC. I love them.
But they basically, they're spruiking using AI to decide whether someone's suitable for a loan, and what used to take hours could take mere seconds. And I'm like, so you're saying that a computer, if a human can't understand the nuance of a person's situation in a couple of hours, you expect a computer to go...
Why do we have credit ratings?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know recently
we've had this convo because both our credit ratings are decent. We're in the 8s.
Yeah, and my wife's credit rating's like almost like top, right?
Yeah.
And when she got a novated lease car recently, she had to go through like provide so much stuff. And you go, why do we have a credit rating to review stuff? Well, why not literally use that number? We already have it.
Your last 2 years of payments get put on your credit rating now. So every bank account that you have that has a credit file listed against it, your payments against that become a matter of record for your credit.
So why do I have to then go apply for a loan? Why don't they just go to this credit system that's set up and just go bing and just anyway? That really annoys me because I've done like business loans and that where I've just had to go through hoops and it's like I ended up getting it, but it's like what the hell am I doing? Like, are you just collecting data? I mean, because I do wonder about that. If they just want a whole heap of stuff so they can sell to data brokers. Or Russian mobsters. It's really frustrating, that whole thing.
But yes, no.
What are we talking about?
AI. I'm not convinced AI is.
AI.
I'm not convinced. AI, like you said, AI is not real, and I'm not convinced.
It's a collection of parlor tricks.
Yeah.
And a bunch of things that they've done that are basically pattern matching and statistics that they've called AI as a branding exercise.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is. Like the face recognition, that's not AI. That is just looking for the gaps between your eyes and your nose and other common things. So and when they've got medical things where they go, we can show it an X-ray and it'll pick out where there's tumors. It's not really. See, what all they're doing is this, right? AI in that medical imaging thing and others, it's just like
comparing across 10,000 at once.
It's electronic autism. Now I'll tell you a story about the Israeli army had a unit. I don't know if they still have. They used to have a unit of autistic people.
Yeah, the trolls, the Hasbro trolls. Yeah.
No, not just for the internet, but they used to have. What they do is they get these autistic people and they would teach them how to even get to work every day and get home. And what they would do, apparently, I don't know if this is like well known, but they would go through photos of places. Looking for things that were different or out. And the autistic kids that did it, they were really good at going, look at a photo of that. That's right. And so, in their own way, right? And so they would go, okay, well, that's might be like a bomb or something. And so they could go, so they just had a unit dedicated to having people who are just really good at spotting. This sounds like
the plot to that Predators movie, but that's okay.
Okay, but anyway, so that's basically what AI is for a lot of imaging stuff and that now. It's basically electronic autism where you've got the computer instead looking for things that look a little bit out of place.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And it's not AI. It's not saying it's not beneficial or anything, but it's not AI. It's not intelligence. And it'll never be intelligence, but that's we're at 47 minutes, but it'll never be. It cannot be intelligence because of how it works.
Yeah.
But there's fundamental reasons.
We're seeing a resurgence in the A space, like the A games. There's a lot of what you would have considered schlock or filler games back in the day come out now. They sell them for $70-$80. And they provide just like Elix it's got a sequel. There's Elix 2, and this is one thing that Steam's been good for is like you have these games that don't have to be mega successes, and the Japanese market. I mean, you look at EDF, right? EDF 6 will sell 1 million copies. If you sold 1 million copy, Prince of Persia sold like a couple of million copies, and it was considered not enough of a success, so they closed the studio down. EDF sells 1 million copies, and they break out the goddamn champagne. You know what I mean? Like,
their expectations are bad. Well, I was just talking about these.
Squeenix, your game Deus Ex copped it for the same reason. Squeenix said it was below expectations. And their expectations were like what 6-7 million.
Their expectations were dumb because they had this whole Deus Ex universe and then on Mankind Divided. And it was just they're just trying to do too much and they need to calm that down. But I was just talking about modern retro games, these Metal Dragon and Life on Mars, and they were just indie games developed for Mega Drive. And so they're probably sold a whole heap through their website. They're going to probably sell like a couple of thousand Evercade carts and they're probably going to be excited as hell. Right? So I mean, it's not just the explosive growth in game, what the cost to
Triple A,
develop.
yeah, yeah.
It's also that these companies have such overhead and shareholders and that they're demanding the growth.
Everyone's taking a bit off the top.
You have to, they're all the execs and they have to make a bit more. They have to buy their shares back to pump up the price so the execs get more. Share buybacks are the most evil thing that ever happened, right? But
and then they take government loans and then buy back the thing because they make more money anyway.
Yeah, big hello to Ellen Joyce.
Yeah.
No, Ellen Joyce?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Ellen.
Was it? Just trying to make sure I didn't name the Hawthorn coach instead.
Yeah.
No, the guy from Qantas. No.
I knew what you meant.
I'm a bit older.
I knew what you meant.
Sam Mitchell, stop buying Hawthorn shares. No, do buy Hawthorn shares. Anyway, so where's I going? So that's sort of having to feed the big monster. Now, one last quote. I know we're almost at 50 minutes. This guy said, what's his name again? Mr. Shawn Layden. Yep. He actually said, and this is interesting because he is an advisor at Tencent. So he said, this is the quote: "If you're going to pitch me your AA game and the first 2 pages of your deck is your monetization and revenue subscription scheme, I'm out."
Yeah. Layden was great, mate. Like for all my complaints about the PS3 in that era, like at least they tried to do something. At least they tried to be something. And then PlayStation 4 started homogenizing it a bit, and then they obviously just stomped the Xbox. And now the PS5 has kind of become Sad Dad Simulator or like what's the word? Game as a service simulator. I mean,
it's a good place to play remasters.
Pretty much.
So yeah,
and Helldivers. Play Helldivers, good game.
Oh yeah, okay. Now, so the thing is with that quote. Now, if these Tencent's got their claws in everything. They must own like 10% of every gaming company on earth. But they're very, I mean, they're Chinese influential, and you look at something like Black Myth Wukong, and I said a few podcasts ago about the quality of that game should frighten Western devs. Now, if his attitude is prominent in Tencent and the Chinese dev scene, that don't come to me with a monetization strategy pretending to be a game.
Yeah.
Then that actually bodes very well for their industry.
Absolutely.
Very well for the Chinese gaming. And if it does...
And it's funny too, because they are the kings of monetization strategies. And so if he can convince them that here is the way to maximize profits that don't rely on that, then that might steer the ship.
Well, their raw numbers, they can make a lot on a good game just on sales, right? Thing is... If that is, and if you got the quality of Black Myth Wukong coming out of there, and then on our side, on the Western side, all the games are like Assassin's Creed, and they're just trying to do weird things, or they're trying to, or there are other games that are just trying to like milk you from as much money as possible. Given a choice between the two, I know which way gamers are going to go, and that doesn't bode well for EA, Ubisoft, and all that. If they keep going down the path they're going, the gamers don't really like, but they put up with. But if the games coming out of China aren't full of monetization, or not like predatory like it is now, because they do love their costumes.
They do love their whales,
Yeah. So and the costumes are okay. I don't give a crap if people buy costumes, right? That's fine.
That's all I was saying. That's my single defense of Dota. You could play thousands of hours of Dota, the entire full game, no questions asked, and not spend a single cent if you don't want to.
But the costume's fine. I know they say, "Oh, but kids in Fortnite are being bullied for not having costumes." Fine, they're fine. They're freaking teenage kids. They'll bully them. They'll bully each other over anything. They just need an excuse. But the thing is, if that's the attitude, if his attitude is prominent or dominant in China, and the game devs are the quality of Black Myth Wukong and getting better coming out of China, and you look at what's happening in Ubisoft and places like that, and Microsoft over here. It's another sign, I think, that our Western game dev industry is in trouble.
Yes,
that's where I was going to go with that. I liked what he said. Actually, I was very
Shawn Layden,
very happy. Smart guy.
I remember I was at E3 where they announced the PS4. Walked past him and House, and it was just after House had given that keynote speech, and it was the next day. And I said it to him. I said, "Really?" We're going up the escalator with him, and I said, "Just like to say, sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to say, you absolutely killed it yesterday. Like you've set yourselves up for a generation." He goes, "You think so?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Look, your enemies made some missteps." I said, "But you understood what the zeitgeist was. You understood what gamers actually wanted." And you nailed it. And I said, between you and Mr. Layden, and pointed up the thing, I said, you got it right on the pulse of it. He goes, I'm glad you think that. Thank you. 'Cause, well,
Was this the one where Matrick came out with his sports
yeah, yeah. Well,
TV, sports
you've got
TV, TV
you've
sports?
got 360. If you want to play a console offline,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
pull
yeah.
out the 360.
And you know, every time I turn my 360 on to play Rock Band or
That's a
something
good
now,
update.
no, it's not that. I have to do a special because it doesn't have two-factor authentication, right?
Yeah,
So all
yeah.
Microsoft stuff needs. So you need a one-time code. So I need to run over to my computer, get myself a one-time Xbox code
They come
with
back.
whatever. And it's a pain in the back. So I go, why can't you just let me log on? What's going to happen if it gets hacked? Like what? All the games are on CD.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
what's the worst that can happen if my Xbox isn't up? Hey, it's just Xbox 360. It's such a pain. It wasn't the whole idea that that was my offline sort of console that Matrix said.
Yeah,
Oh, if you don't want to play our always online, you have
yeah,
to
you
go
play
to
the
the shop
Xbox
to trade in
360.
games.
Yeah.
To give a game to a friend, you have to go to the shop first
Well,
to get a special code.
that was House in that video where he goes, "Here's how you trade games on a PS4." He had
Yeah,
to show how you
that
should.
was legendary. I
Yeah.
remember that. Anyway, we've gone
Let's wrap up.
54, but anyway, so I think I covered it. Is there
Yes.
anything you need to cover?
No,
Anything
no,
coming
no.
up?
So for us, we've got Glitch on for Halloween. If you are listening and you're in the Melbourne area, feel free to check it out at facebook.com/Glitch Nightclub. We'll have a website up for it hopefully soon as well, and then a couple of them throughout the year. End of year Randbat is in the next couple of weeks, so that should also be another big one. I think it's 22nd of November, but don't quote me on that. And then yeah, it's Christmassy stuff, and then I'm off to Japan in January. Surprise, surprise.
You could actually just say that in a third podcast.
Yeah,
Just, I'm off to Japan.
pretty much.
Cool. All right. Cool.
But yeah, so otherwise, I think that's it. Play Gigabash is my only other thing. It's a great game.
Go get an Evercade, and if you got a lot of money, go get an analog product. Although they take ages to write, they do.
Galea waited a long time.
Yeah, and Jamie showed me his, and it is primo hardware. It really is. It is so good, and you can actually load your analog pocket up with extra cores. So no doubt, your N64 at some point in the future you'll be able to load with extra cores
Yeah,
for
nice.
like Amiga and stuff like that, which will be very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
All right, well,
good units.
on that note, facebook.com /New Game Plus TV, Twitter, Twitch, New Game Plus TV, New Game Plus .tv. Cringy's in the middle of doing some episodes for us at the moment, so
Awesome.
coming up soon. I've had some review codes recently, so I'm going to reset myself up here for reviews.
Do we still get them?
Yeah,
I thought I upset everybody for you.
Nah, they still like me. I work hard for them. I see them at PAX. I bring them Red Bulls. They love me. But yeah, other than that, I'll.
Well, I'm not allowed to go.
Yeah, it's people tell you to your face, but it's more like it's one of those things. Like there are some people in the industry I actually do like, so I look after them. That's how it works. So, on that note, we'll see you guys next time.